Hello, coffee lovers, and welcome to the God Country Live Video Podcast. Airing every Friday evening at 7 p.m. Central Standard.
I don't know. Okay, I don't know what's going on. We're having technical difficulties already. I've only done this like 200 times, and for whatever reason, it just. Oh, I know what's happening. Okay, timeout. Timeout. I know exactly what's happening. Oh, hang on, hang on. Let me turn off the boom. Okay, I'm back. Sorry. Technical difficulties. Uh, yeah, it's like a circus. What's up, Mark? So I usually need like 10 laptops and 5 computers and I don't know what else, but it's 1900. It's time for God Country Coffee. Welcome to the show. We have a guest live in the studio, as you can see. My co-host Connie again, and I think she's going to be a staple. Um, and So a couple of housekeeping items. The new website is kind of up. It's actually up. You can order coffee from it. It's streaming across the bottom of the screen. Third day or thirdddcs.com. Um, and so you can go to the new site and please look around, put stuff in the cart. You can still buy from the old site because everything's not on the new site, but I am working on it daily to get all the options so you can do all the whatever size of coffee you want to buy, and then monthly subscriptions. So we're getting all that stuff squared away. And then Ginger and David with Really Designs. When you click on the coffee cups that say, I need more Jesus to deal with people that need more coffee, anyone, coffee mugs, it will send you straight to my partner page on Really Designs website, and you can purchase them there and they'll drop ship them directly. Because we had an event and I sold out. I don't have a single cup left in the building, which is a good problem to have. My new Facebook page, it's called Fat2IM23. And there's a fundraiser on there. And I am trying to raise some funds for the equipment stuff that I didn't even think I was going to need, but apparently it's all a thing. And I am working out 4 or 5 times a week right now. I have a coach who has been doing Ironman since 1990. And the hashtag anything is possible is the Ironman hashtag. And so we're trying to get sponsors, and we actually have a couple that are really excited about, but we have to nail down all the particulars first before we actually announce them. So we have some great sponsors coming. Anyway, that's all we have for Third Day Coffee Seguin. You can still go to the original site at thirddaycoffeeseguin.com. Why won't it let me share this? It depends on which one you're on, Mark. It should let you, if you're not on the God Country Coffee Facebook page, try my personal page or vice versa. So they should be, one of them should allow you to share the deal. So anyway, without any further ado, our guest tonight is Jennifer Conger, and I'm going to let her introduce herself, where she's from, and just tell us a little bit about how you got into the field, what your field is. Mm-hmm. And then I'm going to let Connie, because Connie knows the field a lot better than I do.
Well, just to interrupt, you were talking about the Ironman. Aren't you about to do a...
Oh, yeah, I'm going to do a triathlon in May 30th. So it was something I wanted to do after having my baby. It was a way to say, okay, I'll lose the weight and go back to my normal weight. So I have a couple more months. But yeah, I'm excited. It's going to be in Austin.
That's not something I was thinking about doing when I just had a baby at all. But then again, I was 20 years younger than you are right now.
True. Yeah, so I was excited. I couldn't wait. Yeah, because I really like deadlines. So if I put a deadline, like by May 30th, I'll be back at my target. Because a lot of people say, oh, it fluctuates. It takes a long time to lose weight. And I wanted to have an end date. So for me, May 30th.
Yeah.
So at least.
Yeah, well, good for you.
Yeah, I'm excited. Thank you. Yeah. So I'm Jennifer Conger, and I'm originally born in Dallas. and was raised in Virginia, Woodbridge, Virginia area, some of my childhood. And then we moved back to Austin when I was like in middle school, and I was raised in Austin, went to Texas State, and then went to California State to study communications. And I've always really loved communications because it seems like since I was a little girl, I was always translating for people or helping people, whether it was my mom or the ESL student who we didn't have a really good ESL program in Virginia. And I can remember being maybe 8 years old and translating for a kid from Honduras. So that was really fun. But yeah, I love communication. So I fell in love with writing and that field. So I went on to get my master's in California.
Awesome. And so you work for Comal County?
Yes, Como County. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I'm going to let you, because she knows your whole story.
Well,
and
so tell us about after graduation, what did you aspire to? Where did you work? Where did your career kind of take you?
So after my master's I had thought I finished my master's. I took all my comprehensive exams and I went and worked for an entertainment agency. It's pretty famous. It's named Creative Artist Agency. I thought maybe I wanted to be an agent that represented artists, and quickly being in the public relations department, I realized I really don't want to be in this field whatsoever. It was just really dog eat dog.
Just
very
entertainment
catty.
or just public relations in general?
Both entertainment and
because that's rough.
Yeah, it was rough. They called the place I sat, they called that hallway the Mean Girls Alley.
Oh, nice.
And I thought, great, I'm going to be working here. Wonderful. So anyway, after I think it was 3 years in entertainment for a production company, a management company, then I decided to come home to Texas because my dad needed my help because it was it was right after 2008 crisis, more or less. So we were in construction and he was suffering. So I know construction very well. So I came back to help with that, and I didn't leave until another 5 years. And then I went back to California to finish my degree. And I was working again in development while I was finishing my degree because I had one class pending. And so I worked in development for a company named Westfield. They have really a lot of pretty malls, and I was helping in contract management. And then after I graduated, then I started to do freelance communication just for several clients or content writing. There was a website I created for a construction company. And then it led me to, I had a 2-month break, or it was a 3-month break between jobs. And so I had decided to go to Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan to visit two of my friends. Two of my friends I knew from Los Angeles and from Texas. And one lived in Kazakhstan, one lived in Uzbekistan. And I'd always promised them I would go. They came to my house in Mexico. They came to my house in Texas when I lived in California. So I said, yeah, what's the big deal? I'll go. So I only went for 10 days in both countries, and it was amazing. I had such a great time that I fell in love with the people of Uzbekistan, and I was offered, in this little remote village of Andijan, I was offered a job to teach English. And I had heard about people do this all the time. Like they go to China, they go to these places, and they're paid well. But it seemed like that was more during the university time. Well, I didn't have any free time really to ever do that. I was always helping, my family or doing work and studying. So I said, you know what, I'm going to do it. I'm going to check that off my list. And so I went again. I came back to Los Angeles because I was living there at the time, and prepared everything. And I said, okay, so I'm going to leave for about 2 months. I'll be good. And got my visa, got everything. And then I got over to Uzbekistan on March 3rd of 2020. Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. What were your friends doing there?
They're from there. So one is from Tashkent proper. He's an Uzbek citizen. And the other one is from Almaty, and she's from there too. But they came to America for school, and then they went back. Yeah. So. Wow. Yeah.
That I always tell her, you never know who you're going to meet or what you're going to say to somebody that will play a part in your life later.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and they kept saying, come visit. But I would always go somewhere else. Or, yeah, sure, I'll come visit one day. And then finally that day I said, you know what? I don't have any plans. The flights are cheap. The dollar is good over there. I'm going to go. And so, and I did. And like I said, I had a wonderful time. The only thing was the timing, right? Like I went back.
Well, we didn't know.
Well, hold up. So my dad, he's an alarmist. Every time I go somewhere, he's like, you know, the we're at war right now and they're going to kidnap you and this and that. He would always, so everywhere I would ever go, I remember I went to New
Sounds
York
like
right
me.
Is
after
your dad watching?
9/11. No.
Hi, Dad.
Yeah. He will be. So hi, Dad. Yeah. Thanks for
I
all
need
the
to have
warnings.
coffee with him because he
Yeah.
sounds like me.
Every trip I would go on, oh, 9/11 or this and that. I mean, it was always a story like that. So when I was about to leave LA to go to Uzbekistan, he goes, there's this thing called coronavirus. You really shouldn't go. They're going to shut down. I go, they're not going to shut down the world for some
Never
stupid
gonna
flu or
happen.
whatever, Dad. You're crazy. And that's what he says every time I go out of the country. And so later, 12 days later, I would find out how right he was, so that was crazy. And I thought that was that. Yeah. That,
Did you
I didn't
go,
believe it. Should have
okay.
listened.
Did you panic?
No.
Tell me what happened.
So I get there March 3rd, and I should have known because when we were about to deplane, there were medics there, and they came on board, and that didn't happen when I had previously visited. And they came on board and said, does anyone have a fever? And no. Is anybody sick? No. And so then they had this thing to gauge our fever or see if we had a fever, and they checked everyone, and everyone seemed okay, so we were cleared to deplane. And I thought, that's kind of weird. So I said, whatever, I'll be positive. It's no big deal because we're closer to China. That's why, because it had originally come from China. So I thought, no big deal. They're just a little alarmed. So then we get there and I drive to my town of Andijan, which is like a 5-hour drive from the capital. And so I get into the place where I'm going to stay and I have a roommate and they tell me, okay, you're going to start teaching in about a week and a half. You have a week and a half. So, okay, great. I decompress. I'll find out where the gym is, get my bearings. And so that's what I was doing, having fun, going to meet friends, going to restaurants. And then March 14th, I get a text and it says, all flights, the border's closed, all flights out, have already left. Contact your embassy if you need help with anything, but that's it. And I thought, what? Is this real? And so I was looking, my roommate was Russian. And he had just got it, but in Russian, and so about Russia. And so he's like, well, I guess I can't go back to Russia now. And I'm like, what? So this is real. This is really real. This is happening, right? And then I looked at the embassy and the State Department sent me an email saying the same thing. And I thought, oh my God. And they said, we're going to work to see if we can get a plane out and we'll email you. So just keep looking at your email. And I said, oh my God. Okay. So I guess I'm gonna have to do that, but how am I going to do it? Well, the thing was they didn't think. So my zone, how America shut down and like you could still go travel.
Right.
You could travel to Dallas. Well, in Andijan, within 24 hours, the military rolled in with tanks, AK-47s, guarded each section. So my neighborhood, I could not leave my neighborhood.
Nope.
And if you wanted to leave the neighborhood, you had to have special permission. So the State Department says, we have a flight out March 20th. Great. I can't get 5 hours from there. Who am I going to get? Well, we don't know. Well, thanks a lot. So I was like, well, I guess I'll just hang tight, and I thought, I'm going to be positive. I'm going to write it out. I was already planning to stay 60 days and, why not?
Who knows?
Who knows? Maybe they'll open up in a couple of weeks, and they didn't. And so 2 months, I'm like waiting and my flight's canceled, and we still can't travel anywhere. So we're just in our little zone. And so that was kind of crazy because you're like, well, what am I going to do?
Were you working?
No, because the school shut down. So the school shut down, but my roommate, who was a Russian and he was working at a factory there, he said, hey, if you're bored, and I was like, yes, I am. He's like, do you want to go to the factory with me and hang out? We have good Wi-Fi because at the house we would have spotty Wi-Fi, so I couldn't watch movies. I couldn't Netflix and chill, couldn't do any of that, So I was like, yeah, I'll go with you. And so I would go to the factory with him every day and he would do his, Russian work and getting the people in line to do a fabrication of, they were t-shirts, right? So I was like, okay, but I would watch my movies. I would just write, I would email, I would call. And I said, okay, this isn't too bad, but after
Like a weird vacation.
Yeah, like a weird vacation, a really weird vacation. And nobody spoke. Oh, nobody spoke English. Not even my roommate. Like I was trying to speak Russian, remembering what some of the Russian words I had learned, pointing out words, learning, trying to talk, but nobody spoke English. So it was a very kind of isolated, but with people, thing. So I was like, okay, this is kind of weird. So yeah.
And feeling trapped.
Oh, feeling completely trapped. But what helped me was I had the Russian friend. I had another. He was from Tajikistan. He was also trapped. So it was like, okay, well, I got friends that are trapped. So we're all trapped together, buddies. Like, okay, at least we're all trapped. We can all hang out. We can all kind of laugh at the weird stuff of the Uzbek culture that we're not accustomed to, because it's Islam is the primary religion, and that's not what I'm accustomed to. The men and women sit separately when they eat, at lunch. Their companies feed them lunch. I'm like, well, that's nice. Why don't we do that? So, but it was really weird. Some of the things that they would do, so we would just kind of laugh and be like, okay. And yeah.
Wow.
I was just going to ask, like, how does your faith play into that, being in a country that is
where Christianity?
I mean, everything that I know about Islam is that they want to kill us.
Right.
And I know that's the radicals. But I also know a little bit about the Quran.
Yeah.
And I know that some of it's pretty violent.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, what was that atmosphere, especially being a Christian?
To be honest, Uzbeks are very smart. They're not so crazy zealots. They're more about, or extreme. They're more Sunni, and they wanted to know about Christianity. So they were curious, like, so what is it that you believe? So they were like, well, I would say Jesus, and they would say, well, we acknowledge Jesus in the Bible. And I'm like, well, but he's not your main guy. You got this guy named Muhammad, Right. And I said, look, Muhammad's cool for you guys. You got 4 or 5 wives if you want. But for us women, that doesn't look so good. So I like Jesus. Baby Jesus would just run around loving people. He didn't have 5 or 10 wives, And so they would laugh at that, and they would go, okay. And, it's weird, but it made my faith in God stronger, because I'm very competitive. Of course, I'm American, a capitalist, right? Like so they were praying 4 times a day, and I would pray, but not like them, right? But I would pray, I'd say, oh, okay, you're going to talk to Muhammad. I'm going to talk to Jesus, And so it strengthened my faith more. And it was nice because they're like, oh, you're going to pray too? Okay, well, do you need a room? Do you need a rug? And, oh, no, I could just do it right here. I don't need any magical thing, So they're like, okay. So they were really curious, and yeah, kind of like Christians. Like if you meet a diehard Christian, like, I know Christianity is the way and Jesus is the way and everything's wrong. They some of them, the older, would kind of be like that about, Muhammad's the way and you need to convert to be saved and this and that. But it wasn't. It was just it was out of love. I didn't feel like it was out of hate or dislike or, oh, you're a heathen because you're American, or,
right.
So that was cool, because it was really a lot of good conversations. And, and then I would ask them, well, why can you have so, why is there so many wives, or why is this, or whatever was with their culture or the religion. And they would, answer very curiously, or they would ask me questions too. And so the ones I could answer, I would, so yeah, it was really, I don't know. It was cool. They were really welcoming. And
would you do it again?
Yeah. 100 times over. It showed me what I'm capable of, because I don't think a lot of people would have been capable of going through that and being like, okay, well, I'm going to find a job, I'm going to hang out in a factory with a friend, and then I'm going to find a job in a shoe factory, and then I'm going to find a job in a school, and just keep moving and progressing and work out and meet friends and try to make my life. Because my dad kept calling saying, the Spanish virus, it was 3 years. You're looking at 3 years. You might as well hunker down, make a family, get a job, and you're going to be there for 3 years. And so, and he would call, like, and he would just panic, he would put me in panic mode, and I'd be like, Mom, then my mom would jump on the phone. Are you okay? I'm like, I was, until I talked to him today, talking about jihad and all these crazy things that are going to happen or could happen, and how close I am in proximity to Afghanistan, and, and they're not exactly friendly. And so I would say, Mom, please, just tell him when he calls not to mention any of that, just to talk to me. And so she would always give me hope too, because she's like, hey, mira, Jennifer, if you really get fed up, you need to be smuggled across the border. I come from people that know this very well. I'm from Mexico. We have this thing, coyote. Coyote, very good. There is Uzbek coyote. We just have to find Uzbek coyote to get you to Kazakhstan or Russia or whatever. We get you. Don't worry. And I just die laughing, because I'd be like, that's what I needed to hear. Just some hope, So that was hilarious.
That's I met a guy who was a missionary in Russia.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me that the way he would, because I asked him, how do you go into a Muslim country and take our faith? and try to present it to people who have grown up Muslim, not not Christian,
Mhm.
not even probably not even a hint of it in some of those areas.
Mhm.
And he said, you just tell everybody that, you start the conversation with, well, we're all sons and daughters of Abraham, because Abraham is their father too.
Mhm.
And so that's how he would make that connection. And I don't know how they moved it, but it's really encouraging to hear what you said about how nobody was really trying to, like,
Convert you.
Yeah.
Right. Convert.
militant,
Yeah.
you need a converter, we're
Mhm.
going to chop your head off or
Exactly.
whatever.
We don't really
Exactly.
hear all the things about families and friendships and things like that. We
No.
hear about those people over there and
Yeah.
how dangerous it is, and they want to kill you.
Mhm.
It's not,
It's
not all like that.
No.
I know there are places like that,
Right.
but I know it's not all like that.
Mhm.
And,
Yeah.
I mean, we're all God's people. The Bible says we're
Right.
all sons and daughters. And so,
So how long were you there?
So I ended up staying 6 months. 6 months. Yeah. It was crazy, but I did what my dad said. I got a job. I found my PlayStation cafe where I could go play Mortal Kombat video games. I found a gym.
So I didn't say anything about this, but in the promo picture, Jennifer, you can't see the whole shirt, but that's a Tupac shirt she's got on.
it is. I don't have a way to. I wish I had a way to
To show that
To
picture.
show
to show that picture. Oh, I do have a way to show that picture. I do. Let's see. We're gonna do this
Let me
right
see if we have any
here,
questions. Oh,
and we're
mine's
gonna
frozen.
share the screen, and then we're gonna go to.
Well, while he looks for that,
I'll do it like this. I think it's
so
on the
you
laptop.
were 6 months, and then how did you, like, so here we couldn't get water, we couldn't find sugar, we couldn't find flour,
Toilet paper
we couldn't find toilet paper
for a respiratory
so
virus.
did that
Oh my
happen?
No, thank God Muslims don't use toilet paper. They have bidets
Oh,
and
yeah.
the washer thing. So I had plenty of
Okay.
toilet paper. I sent picture of me with just 2 cases of toilet paper in front of like a mountain of toilet paper. And I sent it to my mom. I was like, we got to start an export business, and she was laughing so hard. She's like, we can't find any of that anywhere. And no real shortages, because it was pretty controlled. It was pretty well controlled.
Why do you think that is?
Because the president is very strict, compared to ours, where we have a lot of free will and we don't fear our government as much, and we do have freedom of speech, and they do not. So whatever he says is law within. Yeah, you do it.
Wow.
And so, only buy 2 things of toilet paper, only buy 2 things, whatever it was, he would say they would follow. So I was like, okay, well, this is a good place to be, during the pandemic. At least I have toilet paper.
Find all the stuff.
Mm-hmm. But talking about that shirt, what was funny, so a lot of the women in the remote area I lived, the capital's different. It's like, it's more progressive. But where I lived, it was very remote, and a lot of women covered up, and they really wouldn't go to the places unaccompanied without a man or another elder woman. And here I would be jogging by myself with an iPod, like wearing Adidas pants and like a Tupac shirt, and they would just kind of look at me like, who are you? What are you? And they probably thought I was just some crazy Russian, because they have plenty of Russians there, so they're like, this crazy Russian. But just things like that. Or I would grab, when I first got there, no one told me, don't shake their hand. Don't, man and man touch, but man and woman do not touch. Well, I didn't know that. So I'm over there giving handshake. Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm gonna share that, and then we'll go over here. There.
Yeah. So in that shirt, I was running, and they were just looking at me like, who is this crazy one? Or is she running from something? Because it's not really a thing that they do, right? So here I am running. They're like, what is she running from? Where's she coming out of? And, and then after a while, they got used to me. It's like, okay, here she comes again, But Yeah. And yeah, handshakes, aren't appropriate between man and woman. And in the beginning, I would, give everyone handshake, and you could tell they would do it out of respect, but they were like, oh, that's not right. So
I wonder who. I can't see who. If you're watching and you just logged on to the video from either my Facebook page or the God Country Coffee, at the very top it says that you have to give StreamYard permission. You're not signing your life away. All you're doing is giving them permission to use your name, because otherwise it comes up as Facebook user. But I'm looking at a bunch of places, and I want to see who just said,
Mortal Kombat.
yeah, finish him.
That's right. That's right.
So you never got an opportunity to teach over there, did you?
No, I did not. Because right as I was about to leave, again, I was ready, and I had students that were going to privately come to me, and I was going to tutor them because you couldn't go to the school. So I had to find another way. Right. So right as I was about to do that, I found out there was a flight and I could get out, so I said,
like,
okay.
I'm out of here.
Yeah. And I was out. I was like, okay. I mean, but it was, it was bittersweet. I was so happy to come back home, right? Because that was my life. But I had made a little home there, and I only had 48 hours to say goodbye. So I was like crying all over the place, just like telling everyone, I'm going to miss you. Come meet this. I have a gift for you. Or, trying to see everybody I had met, because it was such great
Jennifer
memories.
Franklin? Is
Oh,
that one of y'all's
yeah.
coworkers?
Oh yeah, that's yes.
Okay.
It's such a good game. But it started to get hard around. There was this PlayStation cafe I would go to, and everything was great. And I was really just focusing on day to day, right, to survive. Okay, this is fine. Tomorrow will be tomorrow. And I had my routine. So PlayStation Cafe was one of my routines. Every Friday night after work, I would go to play Mortal Kombat. Well, I went to the one I always go to, and they said, no, women aren't allowed here anymore. And I was like, what? I was here just last week. And they're like, yeah, but there was a woman and man here last week. They were messing around, and now all women are punished. And I was so mad, because that devastated me, right? Why are women punished, but the men can continue to go on? So the next day at work, I was telling everyone, I'm gonna protest. I'm gonna do this and that. Like, not here. You want to go home? You want to see your family? Not here. And I was so mad. But it made me remember the beauty of my country, because we complain a lot about this country. I mean, I do too. But we have the freedom to speak. We have the freedom to protest. We have the freedom to stand up and say this is wrong, and not worry about us being killed or our family being tortured.
We can vote.
We can vote. Yeah. Right. And so there's elections, there's free elections.
You can go to church and not get shot on the way out.
Yep.
Well,
for the most part.
Yeah, for the most part.
Without the crazies. But I'm glad you brought that up, because lately, me and my coworker, Darren, we're frustrated, I guess, or maybe even fed up with people that are just constantly griping, and they have no clue. They've never been out of this country. They've never been to. I'd never been to a third world country. We went to Honduras, and you talk about people that have zero. I mean, these people have lived in the mountains for generations with no water, no septic, no electricity. And so we don't have a clue, and we don't have a leg to stand on when it's, I mean, we got nothing to complain about. We really don't.
Yeah, very true. Because that was an issue over there. Some days I'd have light. Some days I'd have hot water. Some days I had like a little stream of water. Sometimes I've had Wi-Fi. It was just every day I tried to look at it like every day's a surprise. Am I going to have light today? Am I going to have a shower?
Surprises.
Yeah, they're not. But you just start rolling with it after a while. Okay, I'm going to stink today. There's no way you're getting around that. It's okay. So that was always interesting, but it made me appreciate much more when I came home, and I was like, God, this country's great. And their love for this country, a lot of my friends that I would meet, they would ask all kinds of questions. So in America, can you really speak up? And in America, can you do this? And in America, what do you guys do for fun? And they were just so curious about it. I never had, besides the PlayStation Cafe where all women were punished, I never felt any discrimination or hatred. If anything, they would find out I was American, not just a born Russian, because they have a lot of Russians, and they're like, another Russian. But when they found out I was American, from where? And do you need help? And my son speaks English. Let me give you his number. And okay, for what? In case you need any help. And I would take them up on that, and I would need help for like a hey, I need to go to the market, but I don't want to get, taken advantage of.
Right.
So can you translate for me and just kind of pretend I'm Russian or whatever we have to do, or I'll stay silent and point and you translate. And they would negotiate, because I had to make $1,000 last 6 months. That's all I had. That was the only cash I had,
Wow.
because the bank was in Tashkent, 5 hours away.
And
So
you
I couldn't
couldn't
go
get there.
take money out. Yeah, because all the everything was blocked until August. So I had to make that, cash last. And that was how I did it, just constant work and getting things. And again, the dollar is stronger there.
Yeah.
But just again, thinking of those ways. But they were, I like to say Mexicans, because my mother's from Mexico, we're very, very hospitable people, right? You've heard of mi casa, su casa, right?
Mhm.
And we really mean it. But the Uzbeks, they got the gold medal in it. I mean, I told a woman, hey, I like your shirt. Oh, you like my shirt? Okay, hold on. She went and washed it real quick and gave it to me. But it wasn't a shirt. It was an outfit she made that was beautiful. And I was like, no, ma'am, I don't need it. I was
Now
just
you
saying
have
it was
to take
beautiful.
it.
Yeah, so I never said a compliment ever again. I don't like anything. I don't like anything you're wearing but it was, and they never, they always were helpful. My roommate got COVID and I had to give him injections, which I've never given anybody injections. I have no training of that. And the owner of the store that I would always go to, she grew up in the Soviet Union. So they're always really badass women, like 40, if they're 35 and above. And he goes, go ask the storekeeper. She was Soviet. And I said, what does that mean? She'll know how to give a needle. And I said, what? So I go over to her and I go, hey, can you help us? I need to give him this medicine because he has COVID and he's bad. I had COVID, but it wasn't really bad. And she's like, yeah, I'll come over. No big deal. She put her mask on. She came. She trained me how to give the injections. And she's like, come get me if you need me. And I said, okay, I might need you. And she's like, okay. And I was like, what are you, Superwoman? She's like, no, I grew up in Soviet Union. Oh, okay. All right. Well, I didn't know that's what happened in the Soviet Union, So, but it was remarkable. They, even when they didn't know what the disease was or they were afraid, no, you're a foreigner. You're not from here. You're afraid. Both of you are trapped. You want to go home. Let me help you because you're in my home. And that's what I felt. And I was like, man, it's just amazing. And we would talk about God a lot too, and just what I like is they always say, Assalamu alaikum, and, God be with you. It's always, and that was such a beautiful thing. Here we don't. We say, hi, how are you?
Mm-hmm.
Well, who cares about you? What about God?
Yeah.
But they would always say it. And I thought it was so beautiful that they always said it, and I don't know. They had a lot of just kindness, a lot of kindness. And I mean, there's a lot of judgmental stuff there too, right? But all I found was a lot of kindness. Yeah.
So you got back home and.
Oh yeah. I got back home and I was shocked. So I was in Los Angeles. Everything was still kind of closed down. People were so afraid. Still so afraid. And I was like, man, I've been through the ringer these 6 months. I had water. I haven't had water. Had to speak with my hands, all kinds of things, right? So this is nothing, And so when I got back, I was over stimulated. There was just, I'd go to the grocery store, 50 toilet papers, 50 oatmeals, 50, and I thought, oh my God, this is too many options. And I got anxious and I said, I don't feel comfortable, or there's so many people. And then there's homeless people everywhere. In Uzbekistan, there wasn't homeless. Even their homeless had like a job to do in the society. So or they're poor, let's say they're poor. But it was really kind of just cold. It was like a cold comeback to America. And I thought, I don't think I want to live in Los Angeles. I think I'm going back home. So I came to Texas to visit and I saw my family and they're all crazy. There's a lot of them. And so they were all touchy feely and hugging, and making jokes of pictures I had sent a picture of me in a factory, one of the places. And my cousin's like, well, I thought you had inherited a sweatshop or something, I said, that's my cousin. That's what she does when she goes overseas. She doesn't just, and I said, you're crazy. But they were so happy to see me. And I said, you know what? I'm going to move back home. I don't know what my next step is, but I just want to be home. And so I moved close to my parents and we were in it, and it started to kind of even out, but it took time to I really missed them because I built my little village and I had my little store with the Soviet woman. I had, my little PlayStation where I got gender discrimination, the gym I'd go to, and so, but one cool thing too is they knew I loved pools, right? Because I'm from Texas, the heat. So they rented a pool for me when I was there, and only the women went swimming, or they knew I liked horses. So guess what? I got to ride the factory horse, So they really tried, you can't go home, but let's try to bring home at least what we have,
Yeah.
And I come back to LA, and people in LA are not like that,
They don't care where
They don't care where you are.
Matter.
Put your mask on, screaming and yelling. Hold on a second, hold on, So it was a rude awakening to come back, and I couldn't wait to get back to Texas where I knew I'd be safer and just with family, familiar. Yeah.
Show your hoodie because Ginger and David are complimenting you
Thank
on
you.
your shitty.
Thank you.
Justin, thanks for tuning in as always, brother. Joe, I got to call out everybody that supports us all the time, and what a great story. The fact that you felt distant from them after you got home, despite the challenges, says a lot about the people. I know this. If you've heard the story of Marcus Luttrell, he went into this village with a broken back, and he asked this family to help him, and they, at risk of being killed by the Taliban, helped him because that was their custom. And we don't hear a lot about stuff like that. I mean, you were there, so you get to tell our listeners that, but a lot of people don't really understand that. They can't, I mean, I never would have thought that, I would have thought it'd been hostile.
Right.
And I'd have been scared, myself
that's our
too.
judgment.
Right. That's the judgment.
It is judgment because we don't know any better.
We don't.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I was shocked. I really was shocked at just how kind and loving everybody was. And they all kind of came together. Like, they might not have met each other, but they all kind of came over and, okay, we're going to make, what do you need? I needed medicine because I have a disorder. And so the medication, I was going to run out of it. And so we went looking, pharmacy hunting from left, every single place you could imagine. And we finally found it. And they're like, oh yeah. And it was like, everybody found it that day. Like, everybody needed it. We all celebrated 4th of July. I bought everyone little, there were these things called Snick pies. They're like a ripoff of Snickers, right? But it was an ice cream and it had the American flag. And so I bought like 200 for the factory workers. And I was like, here, happy 4th of July, happy 4th of July. And I made them all listen to like the cheesiest American music. And I like this American music, like even that, what is that song? And I proudly stand. I'm proud to be America. I took pictures in the trenches with some of the workers. It was hilarious, but they loved it because they're like, whatever, she's happy and everything's good. And so it was cool because, they wanted to know more. And so, but you hear Uzbekistan and you think of Afghanistan right away. All the stands. And you're like, oh, they're just all horrible and this and that. And that's not true. Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan more so. They're just a lot more kind, and they want to be their own culture. So they're they want to be apart from Russia, apart from Afghanistan. They want to be associated with Uzbekistan, and so. Yeah.
Would you say that those people respect? Because I know, like in this country, we've lost a sense of personal responsibility. We could care less about the guy next door as long as we get what we want. Right. And I know everybody's not like that, but I think that's a general problem with our country right now. And it doesn't sound like it's that way over there.
Not at all. Not at all. It was, if you're suffering, I'm suffering. Because I opened up to them and said, look, I don't have a lot of money because I can't make it to the banks. Oh, okay, well then come over to at the owner of the store, come over and eat lunch with me every day. And then one of the students at the school I was going to teach that I never really got to teach her, come over and I'll feed you, just teach me a couple words and I'll teach you a couple Uzbek words. So everybody felt like, okay, you're here and you really don't want to be, but we're going to try and make it a pleasant experience. So
wow,
and
that
when I got
awesome.
over, everybody messaged me, did you make it? Are you safe? And I was like, yeah, but I miss you guys. No, it's okay. God will provide. Everything's good. God is good. You're home. But everyone was so happy. And I was like, yeah.
Well, that's
the audio's lagging. Yeah, it probably is, Mark. I'm not sure.
it's okay.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean I try to go, answer things as they're popping up.
So you got back, you got to get back into regular life.
And so I got back, I started working in Austin, and just slowly but surely, I would stay in touch with a lot of my friends and constantly on Instagram or Facebook. So that was great. Or I would send them pictures and that helped. Right. And so, but everything I was anxious a lot, and so that was difficult. That was a difficult transition, but again, I was with family. So it made me feel calmer,
So you didn't have a problem being an anxious person. I think I'm an anxious person most of the time. I have been all my life, but did you have a problem with anxiety before you went?
Oh yes.
Oh, you did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just thought maybe being over there and then coming back to the overstimulation may have, you know, caused some anxieties.
Yeah, I'd always had them, but not that constant, you know. So when I was 22, I was diagnosed with a disorder, and a lot of it has to do with anxiety. So I learned how to really manage it with working out and taking proper medication or praying or meditating. And so it wasn't frequent. It wasn't frequent. So to find myself again, kind of at that beginning where I'm like, why am I anxious all the time, was really difficult. But having a routine again, having a job, going to meet my friend or my family, a lot of my family after work or whatever it was, really helped. And yeah, and that yeah, it was good.
And so did you come back to San Antonio area or
To Kyle.
to Kyle?
Yeah,
Okay.
Kyle,
So you weren't
Austin
far
area.
from here.
Not at all.
Okay. And how did you end up at Comal County?
I was working at Hayes County for a while, and I really liked helping people because I just made people rich. Like I made people more money. Like that's great. I like making you rich.
Well, let's
Like,
talk
can I
about that
help
later,
somebody?
okay?
Yeah,
'Cause-
yeah.
I need some of that.
But I never helped people, right? I'm not medical trained. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a paramedic. I'm not a nurse. So I'm not going to help people, right? But when I worked for public health in Hayes, I was like, wow, I'm helping. And I was helping give getting the people the paperwork for their shots and raising awareness of the COVID vaccine. And I thought, this is great because I really feel good about myself right now. And I like helping people. So then there was a position in Comal County and I applied for it and I thought, wonderful. And so I've been there ever since. And now I'm in New Braunfels and I met a wonderful husband, that I didn't know him when I was in Uzbekistan, nor did I dream that I would end up with an American. All how my exes live in Texas. All my exes are like the United Nations all over the world. They are not in Texas. So when my mom,
That's a good thing.
that is a good thing. That is a good thing. Keep him far. No, but when my mom met him, she's like, he's American. He's really American, like American, like green eyes, blonde hair, green. Oh my God. She was just, hallelujah. Finally, I'm like, hold on. This is like the first date, Mom. So, but yeah, I fell in love and I didn't have that planned. And, I did, when I was in Uzbekistan, I did seeing how families were, whether they were poor or not, or had money, they were happy. And I thought, you know what? I think I'm ready to start a family. Like I need to find a mate. Right. But I'm going to start praying towards that. So God, please put a good person in my life. God, please. And so he did. And
there
now we have a beautiful baby.
You can't see him,
we have
but
a beautiful
he's
baby.
right off to the side.
He's watching.
He's watching.
So your faith got stronger while you were there.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever come to a situation where you felt like, okay, God, I need you right now?
Yeah. There was an incident with someone. Remember I told you the military had kind of rolled in and blocked off. So I was able to go with my passport and the Russian with the passport to go to the factory because we were saying we're consultants for this factory. Okay. And the driver would translate for us. But there was an incident. I don't know if the guy was drunk or what, but all these, people with AK-47 yelling words I don't understand were kind of going to swarm him. And I was like, so I turned around and I was like, God, just please, whatever you do, like protect me. Do I need a duck? I kind of moved towards the tank to kind of hide a little just in case anything popped out. And I just felt, I felt warmth. Like, there's no, just a warmth, right? Like I didn't hear any voices or see a burning bush, but I felt warmth, and all of a sudden, yeah, they just got the guy, took him in and it was over with and okay, pass, and they just let us pass. But yeah, there were just times where I didn't know how long it would last. And so I definitely work out, then pray and just say, God, like, let me help somebody today and just please be with me. And then also I got really sick because just my stomach, I always get sick and maybe the meat wasn't washed. I don't know what, but I got, a little E.
Maybe
coli
it wasn't
problem,
beef.
Yeah, maybe it was the beef, so.
Did you see any dogs or cats running around?
Yeah.
I don't know.
But but so I got sick and I was just laying there and going to the bathroom and just not feeling good. And I was like, God, please just don't let me die here. Like, God, just please don't let me die here. And then my friend came to take care of me and everything was okay. But there were moments where I would definitely freak out, or be like, am I ever going to leave? Because every month I would get a update. Okay, we have your flight. It's updated and it's going to be July 2nd. Great. And then a week before the flight, okay, your flight's been canceled indefinitely. We don't know, And so every time I would do that, I'd be like, God, what is the purpose of this? Like, what am I doing?
When we talk about anxiety, I cannot imagine how fearful I would be. I mean, I would love to say, oh, I'd be fine because I trust God, and I do, but my humanness goes, oh, I'm freaking out.
Mm-hmm.
I can't take this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine. I
did have, so luckily because of technology and everything, I did have like a church group of women that I would always talk to in Burbank, California, and they started to do Zoom. They were live meetings, but then COVID hit and Zoom. So I was able to log in, and then I would talk and say some of the things I was going through, and they would be like, wow, that's nothing compared to what we're going through, or, I got cancer, but that doesn't sound like anything. You're trapped. You're trapped for God knows how long, like, okay.
Hey, but you got toilet paper.
But you got toilet paper. But you got toilet paper. So,
and I think post edit, I'm gonna have to have a picture of that mountain of toilet paper.
Yes,
because it just fits into the sarcasm. I think of I'm pretty sarcastic about stuff like that, and I make fun of it all the time. I said, how do we run out of toilet paper for a respiratory virus? But that's us.
Yeah, that's right.
I remember in San Antonio. I don't know if y'all remember some years back. Somebody was posting that they're running out of gas.
Oh,
and people went nuts,
Mm-hmm.
and it was nothing. There was nothing happening. Somebody was just inciting a panic, and everybody goes and gets gas because they think they were running out of gas. Yeah. And this was on a global scale. This wasn't just a little, some idiot, at Ingram Mall sending texts out. But I can't even imagine. We're just silly in this country. We're so silly.
Definitely silly.
And privileged.
Very privileged. But the praying, even though they were praying to Allah and I was praying to Jesus, it was great because they reminded me to pray. And I swear, I think that's what helped me with my fear. I just didn't know it because I was competing with them. Right? I was competing. I just wanted to win. I can pray longer than you. I can pray harder, so, but I think that and just the constant walks and working out truly kind of said, it's okay. Just look at it as an adventure. A friend of mine at the group said, look at it like an adventure. Or they would make jokes like, look, Moses and the group made it for decades in the desert. You got a house. Sometimes you got water. You got toilet. You got things. So you're fine. You're not walking around the desert. And so I would laugh. I'm like, okay, that's a lot better. So that helped a lot. That weekly. And I would religiously get on that call because it would be maybe midnight or 2 a.m. I don't remember because it's the opposite, whatever was here. But I would jump on it because it would help me and remind me like, hey, everything's good.
Yeah.
I have a question about your fitness. You said that you're working out while you're over there. Is that something that you already were into before you went over there?
Yes.
Or is it something that developed while you were there?
Yeah. So on both sides of my family, we're big. We're big when we get older. So when I was 24, I said, I'm going to always train and eat right because it seems like I'm going to go this way or this way because the American side go this way, the Mexican side this way. And I said, I don't want to go either way. I want to stay right where I am. So I always stayed training and working out, and it was great for my mental state, because some people like anxiety or depression, whatever you fall under, a lot of people want to find just medication, which medication works too. But when you add a clean diet and a clean workout regime, it's amazing how it clears your head. I mean, even when I was pregnant, I was exhausted and being pregnant, but I still worked out because why? Because I knew it helped my mind more than my body, at the end. But yeah, it's something I've always done. Always loved it. Yeah.
That's cool because one of my friends, Brian, he's watching, he's a coach. And he always, we have conversations. We always talk about biblically how God tells us to take care of our bodies. And I call myself the human accordion because I'll lose 100 pounds and then I'll put 50 back on and then I'll take 70 off and I'll put 20 back on. And I just keep doing this and, accordion thing. And, our people, we're already predispositioned to have issues, diabetes, heart disease, all these things. I went to the doctor one time and he had an intern and she's like, I want you to look at this guy and tell me what you see. And you're not going to hurt his feelings. Just, he knows what we're going to do. And she went down the line, diabetic, morbidly obese, hypertension. I mean, she went through the whole list. And then she gave, cause I don't have any of that stuff. I have high blood pressure. Yeah. And so his thing was always, hey man, your genetics are not going to outlast your habits. Your habits are going to eventually take over. Yeah. And so I think that's really cool because a lot of our people need to hear that. A lot of our, our Hispanics,
100%.
It's preventable. A lot of that stuff's preventable.
Stop with the chicharrones and tortillas, right? Put it down a little bit. Find a substitute. And it's hard because it's ingrained. Our family, eat more, finish this, and calm down. I don't want any more.
You can't go to anybody's house without eating.
You can't, right? It's very
because
rude.
You'll insult your grandmother or your aunt or whoever's slaving in the that they have these little tiny slaves making handmade tortillas. And so you have to by default eat. But
it's important, like you say, your body is your temple. And if anything, I saw what COVID did. I saw a lot of people in Uzbekistan, especially if they had any issues, then they'd be in the hospital, whether it was like obesity or diabetes or whatever, right? They'd be in the hospital or sick for a long time. But I didn't. I mean, I got it, but I just couldn't smell or taste, and I had nothing else. And the Russian, he was basically dying. I was like, "You guys are worthless. America, number one again," because he was like, "Inject me, I can't breathe."
It was that competition.
It was that competition.
You were gonna win.
We won the COVID. Yeah, he was a man, but he had I think bronchitis or something like that because he had been in the Chechen War, and so he got this sick thing. So he went on and on. I was like, whatever, weak, whatever. You can tell me all these excuses, but I look at you and I say weak, strong. Remember those two words, my friend. But so it was fun, So yeah. But we have to take care of ourselves because we just forget, and I think I put on weight because of my pregnancy and it's killing me. I mean, these 30 pounds, I just lost 9 and I'm like, God, 20 more to go, but
Jennifer, you got pregnant when you were in your late
I know
30s,
right?
That's to be able to have a beautiful, healthy baby,
right?
When
it's worth it.
Well, yeah. And then, but the older we get, the harder it is to take weight off.
That's my cousin. She goes, I said, this weight. I tell my cousin, she's very brutally honest. I said, Quinn, this is so hard to put this weight off. And she said, what do you expect? You had a baby at 40. It ain't gonna be easy, Why do you think they have them when they're 20? I was like, all right. Way to keep it real, cousin.
Okay, I get it.
Real.
No, I think it's and I'm actively, in it right now where I really feel like and it was all because we went to go see our grandson. And I don't know if Connie had told you this story, but when we do Zooms all the time with Michael and he knows Connie. Connie's been there every year and I always chose to stay and work. Oh, I got to work. I can't go. Yeah. And so when Michael, it just hit me one day, he was like, he knows who I am. But he knows Connie. Yeah. And this guy at work, he's also a follower of Christ. And he's like, JR, if you were to die today, what would your grandson say about you? And I started thinking, like, what would Michael say? Well, he buys stuff and he sends it to the house. And so when I went to go see, we went recently and just being around him and it just, everything was different after that. And I told her, I said, listen, first of the year, everything's going to change and I'm going to go back. Cause I used to run a lot. I was training for a triathlon, which I never got to do. Dad got sick. And the whole reason I wanted to do the tri, I got skinny for Dad because my dad was a very unique individual. And he would say, if you get any fatter, you're not going to fit through the effing door. But that was Dad's love, right? That was Dad loving me. And I took it at that. I never got offended by my dad, but I knew that as I got older, I wanted him to look at me and I didn't need, I didn't need for him to say, "Hey, you're doing great," because he always told me,
Mhm.
"I'm proud of you." But I guess my subconscious, I needed my dad to say, "Man, you look good, mijo,"
Mhm.
and he did.
Yeah.
He got to see me that way. But then, you let it slide because
Mhm.
that's what we do.
Yeah.
And so it's really important. If you're listening, it's really important to take care of your body because we only get one.
Mm-hmm.
And so, well, I would like to ask you if there's anything in your experience or your faith or whatever, your job, anything that you, I usually try to finish off with something that you would, words of wisdom or uh, anything that you feel like, because I always tell Con, you never know who's listening, who needs to hear something that you're going to say. And you may never meet that person, you may never know, but it's possible to change somebody's life by something that you say. So,
No pressure, though.
No
yeah, I know. I was
pressure.
like, well, we're gonna change the world in a
no,
statement.
no
You know?
pressure. No, but I mean, it could be anything. It could be something that's really important to you that you would want someone to, if they didn't hear anything on this entire podcast, would you want for the most important thing for them to know or to hear about you or your experience? Doesn't have to be,
Yeah. Oh well, I get. Yeah. Just or what we were talking about on the topic of try to make a difference. Try to help people. It's amazing. Sometimes we get so isolated being Americans. We just stay, like he was saying, we don't get to know our neighbors. And I think in the Bible, it says, it doesn't say judge thy neighbor. It says know thy neighbor, right? So whatever they're doing, whether it's they're gay or whatever it may be that's somebody may think is not good, that doesn't matter. You just love. Because all I know is what I told my Muslim friends over there, Jesus loved. He loved everybody. I didn't see him going around condemning and telling you're worthless because of that and you're bad because of that and you're bad. No, I just saw him loving. So I think sometimes if you just open your heart and also open your mind sometimes, because you think Uzbekistan and right away you think Taliban or
Right.
they're hate you or they're gonna bomb
Yeah.
you. And and some people had experiences like that in Afghanistan, I'm sure, but not every country that ends with a stand is like that, and not all people are like that. And maybe not all Afghanis are like that, So I think you just need to open your mind more to the world instead of just America sometimes, and to be kinder to individuals, to make a difference sometimes, because you never know. You could really change someone's life, because I know those people, they weren't trying to make a difference, but they made a huge difference in my life, like survival,
Right.
So you just never know what you're doing when you're helping someone. You can really change their life. So yeah. And go visit Uzbekistan. Why not,
I want to go. I want to go see those people.
Not during a pandemic.
But not
Maybe
during a pandemic. No,
Yeah.
no.
I wish you drank coffee because I want to know what the coffee's like over there.
Oh, at that time I did.
Did you
And
really?
It is great. It is strong. It's almost like Turkish. I mean,
Really?
I was wired. I would drink it in the morning and go run forever. I mean, I was, woo,
I
no wonder I was
love-
anxious, but it was good.
To hear about coffee from the world. Well, we appreciate your time. I know you have a young one, and I appreciate your husband taking y'all's time to come over and visit with us because you have a really neat story. And it's very compelling. And like I always say, you just never know who's listening to any part of that. Who knows what they're struggling with or whatever that, that somebody could just be like, wow, I needed to hear that today. And Connie always says it. Sometimes it's just that one kind word that you say to somebody, or sometimes it's that one
Unkind.
rude thing or
Yeah.
unkind thing that you
Right.
do that really messes with someone. And so, Miss Connie, final thoughts.
No, we really appreciate you coming out. It's a long drive out here and
We're living
out
the
into the
sticks.
sticks. And so we really appreciate it. I really enjoyed spending this much time with you. I don't think I've ever spent this much time with you.
It's great. Well, thank you for having me.
Well, I appreciate not just our guest and her husband and my wife, as this is our third episode now as my
Together.
co-host,
Mhm.
and I am really enjoying having Connie. She's a lot smarter than I am, which is why I married her, and she brings a lot. I think she has more well-thought questions than I do. You guys know me. I've been doing this for a while, and I'm just pretty much like bulldoze over everything. And Connie's got such a better finesse to her than I ever will. I'll try, but I like the bulldozer. So thank you for everybody who's been on. I thank you for all the comments. You guys are the best. We have great support. We're going to continue to grow this podcast until God tells me to do something different. And it's never been about me. It's never been about what I'm doing, but I get to share that because God makes it all possible. And so we thank you for your support. We thank you for the support for the business. And you guys can catch us here next week at 1900, 7 o'clock for you civilians, God Country Coffee. Again, thank you so much for watching. Love you guys. And hit up the new website, please. Give us some feedback and buy coffee. All right. Till next week. Love you. God bless.